Welcome back to this episode of the Shooting Bricks podcast. And guys, wow, that's been a long time. Well, hasn't it been? It's like, who knows when the last time was? I honestly forgotten myself, but I feel like this, what just happened last night deserves its own special episode. Don't you agree, G?
Absolutely. Feels like we're living a dream right now. This can't be real.
For you, yes, but for the rest of us, it's like tough reality. But before we get into that, as always, I'm Jared Castillo, and I'm joined by.
Jarrell sells.
And you mentioned it. Let's just not beat around the bush because I know some people have been doing that. But I think the biggest kind of, yeah, you can see it on your face already. You're so happy about this. Like, all right, cool, man. The Lakers just got Luka, they got Luka for AD, Max Christie, and a 2029 first round pick, which that's the one that the Lakers have been trying to not get rid of, right? Or is that the 2031?
It's the pick that they were only going to get rid of if they knew it was going to be a part of their future. That's the wording that was said to us as fans.
Okay, and
Mhm.
by all accounts, I guess this is the future. The future is now.
Absolutely. It's now, it's the future, it's 5 years, it's 10 years from now, it's Luka magic. Like I said, man, I don't know, I have mixed feelings, but as you can see, I can't stop smiling. For the podcast listeners, I'm smiling right now from ear to ear, but it just doesn't seem real. It's like, this is crazy.
Okay, so just a little peek behind the curtain for all the fans, and I'm sure they did this too if they're listening to this podcast. But like the second I saw that tweet from Shams, I called you up, and I was like, "There's no way this is real. He's got to be hacked." And I think we spent like a good, just hour just trying to figure it out, like if it's real, if it's not real. And with the Dallas Mavericks putting out a statement, with the Lakers putting out a statement, it is real. And you kind of mentioned like it's mixed feelings about it. Why do you have mixed feelings about it?
Uh, I mean, Anthony Davis brought us a championship, and like many Lakers fans, although they tried to joke about him being street clothes and things like this, we go to bat for our superstars, and AD was that superstar. We gave up our whole future: Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, multiple picks just to secure the brow. And he's a generational player. I feel like a lot of people downplay his ability to be both impactful on the offensive and defensive end at a high level. So just having him here for what, 5-6 years, it's been amazing. So it is a mixed feeling that we're losing out on a big, when one of our biggest issues for this team was size. So to have him go, the feeling, it stings a little bit, but at the same time, you cannot say no to a generational player in Luka Doncic, in somebody that is 6-7 years younger than Anthony Davis. So Doncic is just entering his prime. So I feel great about that. I'm just weary, but also a little excited to see what happens next with the rest of the construction of the team, because there has to be another move. We can't just
Mm.
get Luka and think that we're going to be competing for a title with an incomplete team.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because you mentioned the trade to bring Anthony Davis to LA. And I saw someone
Mm-hmm.
break it down very simply though. It was Lonzo, who else? Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram, right? For Anthony Davis for most of his prime, a
Mm-hmm.
championship, and now Luka Doncic. When it's broken down into those kind of simplistic terms, like, what does that make you feel?
Honestly, I feel like the bright side is we're getting the best out of everything, right? Like, we got the
Hmm.
championship out of it. The Pelicans, look at them. Like, you got to pray for them because they can't stay healthy. They over here messing with superstars in other fields, and they can't to get it right. So we got a championship out of it, and then now we got another generational player to take the torch and go for the next 10, let's say 15 years, post LeBron. So I think we got the best out of it. It's just so crazy, man. I'm just thinking back. I was watching the Royal Rumble yesterday, so I recorded the Lakers Knicks game, and I'm watching the Lakers Knicks game, and then I just casually see. I got Shams' tweets notifications on. Speaking of notifications, turn our notifications on Twitter. So I see it, and I see Mavericks big trade Luka. I said, "Oh, what is this to the Lakers?" And I'm like, "This has to be NBA Central, right?" But I
Yeah.
don't have their notifications on. This is sham. So I was just so shocked. I was talking to you, Jarrod. I was talking to other friends on the phone about this, and it's still not registering how amazing, how crazy this trade is. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes everything look pale in comparison, right? Because a couple days ago, I was listening to well, not a couple days ago, but I think it was a week or so ago, like the Aaron Fox, there's like that whole trade thing where it's like, oh, the Aaron Fox is wanting out. Are the
Mhm.
Lakers going to take him? Or is the San Antonio Spurs positioning themselves? And like, for me, anything that happens now, unless it's actually no, nothing. Like, I don't think anything matches this. Like, at least in terms of shock, I think the only thing that kind of hits me in a weird way is like when I got the Twitter blast that Kobe died. I had the same kind of
Mm.
like reaction. I'm like, oh shoot, what? I had to like drop everything and just kind of like see more news because it's like this thing that you don't think is possible, but then it just happened, you know? I don't know if you had the
Yeah.
same kind of like reaction.
I can't say it's the same as the Kobe stuff because that's just like that felt like a family member. It just hit totally different. It's a shock factor for sure, but it's not as I can't relate it to that. I will say it was shocking though. This is one of the most shocking things. I think LeBron coming to the Lakers was shocking. The Chris Paul trade, that was shocking. But those type of moves don't compare to this just sporadically happening. And then we're in 2025. Like, people can't hold on to a secret. We are so
Yeah.
connected throughout the media and people having all these rumors and just starting unnecessary drama, especially in the NBA. So for this to just happen randomly on February 1st, the first month of Black History Month, at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I don't even know what time it was. It is shocking. It's definitely a 10 on the shock factor for sure. Because it just happened out of nowhere. You had no time to prep. So yeah, I get that part. And I feel like everybody was talking about it. They didn't they stop and didn't somebody take a timeout in a game to like realize or look at phones on the bench to see what just happened? There's so much stuff
Yeah.
going on. This is crazy.
Yeah, I think it was the Blazers and I think the Suns. I think they're separately, of course. They both teams kind of were like, "Oh shoot, that just happened." They're passing around a phone, like you said. But you mentioned something that I kind of want to talk about, which was the Lakers' future, right? You now that LeBron's in the twilight of his career, you know, if you want to call it that, he's 40, but it's still, all NBA talent. Now they have a basically LeBron 2.0 for the next 10 years, right? What's the obviously you get a generational talent, but aside from that, like what's the Lakers angle? Because I have no idea what the Mavericks are doing. We'll get to that a little bit later. But like I have no idea what the Mavericks are doing, but I'm trying to figure out what the Lakers are trying to do aside from positioning themselves to continue getting marquee players and avoid whatever happened from like 2016 to like 2018 or whatever that period was.
Well, I'm definitely not connected to the NBA whatsoever, but if they happen to listen to this podcast, tap in with your boy. So this is just coming from a fan perspective and just reading and staying up to date. I don't think the Lakers have a plan because the stuff that came out was the Mavericks came to the Lakers with this. Rob Pelinka was just chilling. I'm not going to make a big move. I believe every rumor that was out there about what Rob Pelinka was going to do. You know, we say in Rob we trust, but in reality, I didn't think he was going to make a big move. That's what we've been told. But again, this is a generational player. This is a generational type of trade, and you can't pass up on it. So I think they just accepted it, and they said, we're going to roll with whatever we got and figure it out on the way. We're going to build the plane. Or maybe let's not use that analogy right now. But I just feel like they're going to figure it out as it goes because the Lakers were clicking a little bit. They just beat the Knicks without Anthony Davis, and they did it really well. We see Max Christie perform well. We got Dorian Finney-Smith shooting threes, shooting lights out. Rui Hachimura is figuring out that he can actually score consistently, and then Austin Reeves coming into his own as the the primary ball handler. So I think the plans have shifted and changed. Now you have to build around Luka. The same issues that we were having have now intensified. We needed a big, even though we still had one of the most dominant bigs in the game. Now we definitely need it, because the only center we have on a contract that's not on a two-way contract is Jackson Hayes. And realistically, in 2000, he would be a power forward. He's 6'11", 220 while all his clothes are wet. So the same issues that we have, we need that big, and we also need that defensive-minded guard now, because I don't know if we're going to be able to survive Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves backcourt. But as far as the wing depth, I think we're solid there. So I think those are the two big pieces. If we can figure out a way to get a defensive, athletic, lob catching big, a defensive guard, and maybe even another backup big, then we'll be okay. I think we're the 5th seed in the West, so it's like it's possible. But are we all bought in now? Are we going to put all our eggs in one basket and try to go for the chip now? Or are we going to be smart about it? Because we still got that one first pick, and we still have some valuable pieces in Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura with team-friendly, deals that can be traded. So I'm excited to see what happens, but we'll see.
We shall. I feel like I don't think Austin Reeves would go anywhere, honestly. I feel like he's too much of he does too many things for the Lakers. I read that one of the things that the Lakers are going to be missing in the short term, defense, right? Because Anthony Davis shored up like the back line, and now one of the things, I was listening to another podcast, they were asking, could the Lakers even stop anyone for 2 straight possessions? Because now it's just, we've seen Luka, and there's a lot to be desired there. Like, as great as he is, defense needs a little work, which is fine. Everyone has their things to work on. But who will take up that mantle, right? That now AD has vacated. It remains to be seen. And like you said, I think that there's still some moves that Rob might do. There's been inklings, I guess, or rumors around the Twitter sphere, or X, or whatever it's called, where people are saying, oh, maybe it's LeBron next. Maybe they're just going full into the post AD LeBron situation and just figuring it out from there. Because I went to the good old trade machine, and lo and behold, if it was just a straight up, this can't happen, obviously, but if it's just a straight up kind of like trade LeBron to the Warriors, it would be Buddy Hield, Kevon Looney, Wiggins, and Jonathan Kuminga, just to make the contracts match, right? For LeBron, and then the Lakers would get basically every pick that the Warriors can give up until 2031, with 29 and 31 being top 4 protected, in my opinion, if that were to happen. That way, the Lakers do get that front court help with Looney, right? They got wings who can defend, and Buddy Hield. So, shooting. So, it's not going to happen, obviously. It's not that simple. But, like, I just feel like if the Lakers aren't done, there could be an avenue where they get picks and people back, especially if teams are desperate enough. And I read somewhere that LeBron is fully committed to ending the season with the Lakers. So I think that probably dispels any kind of like rumors and such. But do you believe that LeBron had no idea? Because ESPN reported that LeBron had no idea. He found out during dinner with his family after the next game.
Honestly, again, back to that note of it just being 2025 and how the slightest interest in a player or a team talking just comes out. I do believe it, and that's tough because LeBron James is a good liar. So I believe it. I believe it. I feel like if players were involved, then we would have known about it beforehand. It would not have just came out just like this. This is crazy to happen just midway and through the season. So I believe him.
Okay. Any last thoughts regarding the Lakers and Luka before we switch on to the other side where it's just a whole bunch of
Hey, welcome Luka Magic. Let's get that 7-7 jersey.
Next one on your list.
Hey, I got a couple sparks on my list too, but yeah, definitely.
Hey, shout out Kelsey Plum.
Shout out Kelsey Plum. Welcome home.
Yeah, welcome home. But speaking of unwelcome home, that was a really weird transition, but we'll play with it. Um, where do the Mavs go from here? Because something that okay, so bear with me. There's a lot that kind of trickled out in the hours after the trade, in the minutes, hours, and stuff. So general manager Nico Harrison, he said that the number one reason they made this trade was because of defense, and they really wanted defense, and they thought Anthony Davis was that guy, which for all intents and purposes, it's fine, right? Like
He
he's
is.
yeah, like if you're solely looking for defense, that is the guy you go for, right? And he something that he said to reporters that kind of made me kind of question what was going on is that he only spoke to the Lakers. There were reports saying that another team was interested, but I guess the team shot him down or something like that. Like whatever. There's been rumblings that that happened, but nothing really to corroborate that fact. And him only approaching the Lakers and that was it. I feel like that's kind of weird, right? Like it's not too okay, Anthony Davis is one thing, like future Hall of Famer, okay, cool. But for one draft pick, like if he put the word out that hey, Luka's on the block, like he could have gotten so much more. Like we've seen Mikal Bridges and Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert get a lot more for less than the type of player than Luka is. Would that be fair to say?
I feel like we're downplaying. Like, don't get me wrong, this is a weird trade. If I'm the Mavericks, I don't do it, right? But I think we're downplaying that Anthony Davis is a superstar. So when we
Okay.
look at these other trades where we're getting players that aren't a superstar level of player, Mikal Bridges is not a superstar. Rudy Gobert is not a superstar, and they're getting all these picks. This was a superstar swap. On top of that, you're going to get a serviceable two guard who you can slide into the starting lineup. I'm not saying Max Chrisley is all world, but if you pair, he's growing into that 3-and-D guy. He's not even 22 yet. Pair him up with Kyrie, Klay Thompson, PJ, whoever, Anthony Davis, Gafford, whatever. On paper, that looks like a great team. So I think that in the sense of the trade being swapping superstars, it doesn't seem as crazy to me compared to Rudy Gobert getting traded for 4 or 5 picks. Because you have that superstar in this trade, if we're going to think 2K logic, Anthony Davis is a say 5-star player. Even though he's not the 1A guy, he's an Olympian multiple times, NBA champion. He gets snubbed from defensive player of the year, but he's his first team all defensive player. He's an all-star. He can give you 25, 12, and 2 blocks a game. It's not like they just got a scrub. Like I would
Yeah.
understand if it was they were getting a lower tier person that is a borderline all-star and picks. Cool. But you have a bona fide star. And I see and I understand, I think, what the GM is saying in the sense of this fits for now in a couple of years. Because in reality, you can slide Anthony Davis in that Maverick team healthy with everyone they have will still be a problem. They still have Kyrie Irving and they still have great role players as a supporting cast. So maybe it flows better. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you make a point about Kyrie. He has a player option for next year. And then Anthony Davis has a player option in what, 27, 28. So it's a lot is banking on the next 2.5 years for Mavericks because I wrote in a piece earlier today that if I personally I can't wrap my head around it. I called this probably the worst trade of all time because of the implications it has for the Mavericks moving forward, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But with all of that, you basically have like a 2.5 year window to get everything done for this deal to be worth it, right? Because one of the things that, or a couple of things that I read was that you know, the Mavericks were, I don't know how true this is, but they were mad. How can an organization be mad at a player, right? But they were unhappy with how Luka was going about his conditioning because there was someone tweeted out that Luka pushed 270, and it's like, okay, well, he's 270 pounds, he's 6'8", 6'9", whatever the case is, he's like LeBron except not. Um, but also the injury issues, they pertain to his weight, the effort level on defense, and then the impending supermax. He was supposed to get what, 5 years, 345, right?
I
And
believe so.
and now and now that goes down to, I think, what is it, 5 years, 200 something.
He's losing out. He's losing out on about under $200 million
Yeah, that's
total.
that's wild. That's wild, right? And so all of these factors make me question, like, okay, was it a financially motivated move? Was it like, I get, you mentioned it's a one for one swap, star for star, cool, right? The Lakers get what they want, which is Luka, and then the Mavericks get AD. But what if it doesn't work? I mean, today, okay, granted, a lot of their players were sitting out, but today they just lost by, I think, like 41, 44 points against the Cavaliers. And so it's like, okay, where do they go? What is going on? Because they've essentially just hamstrung themselves into trying to figure out what is now and then what is the future. Because with Luka, he was the now, he was the future. So I don't know. Like, I'm really confused, I feel like, with, I guess, with everything. I mean, it's been almost, well, in a couple hours it'll be a day, but like, it's been that long and I still don't know how to properly process this trade because I've never seen anything like it. Like, is this like the one trade that you feel like is, I don't know, like shocking, like super shocking to the point where it's like, dang, does this kind of like, what is next? Because the trade deadline's in a couple days. So
Yeah, I think the closest thing I can compare this to is the Chris Paul trade. This is, I don't know, what is that, 13 years ago. I can't
sheesh.
figure out all the emotions I've had, but that was crazy. Chris Paul was 25 years old probably at the time, and Gasol
Yeah.
was pushing 30. So it's a similar magnitude. I feel like, I'm not saying Chris Paul and Luka are on the same level here, but it's a big shock factor. I as a Lakers fan, we always are sitting here thinking, what's the next move? Because we need stuff. And there's certain things that we specifically know we need. And even though we have this generational player, the thought is still, this is an incomplete team. So I hope for a trade. I hope for a move. And this should be a very wild trade deadline week, and especially Thursday. So I can't help but to keep looking at my phone to see random times of the day. I'm kind of nervous to go to sleep because you never know. We might have a Kevin Durant situation and something happened at 2 a.m. So yeah, I'm just, right now it's just anticipating. Like, I feel this, it's like waiting in a line for like a roller coaster. That's the feeling I have
Yeah.
right now. Like, yeah, there's some excitement, like, yeah, I'm gonna get on this. But at the same time, it's like, ooh, like, I know y'all seen Final Destination, and certain things kind of going on your mind, like, what's gonna happen. So just a lot of time to sit here and think and reflect and see. But it's also like anticipation and excitement to, maybe it doesn't feel real. I know the Lakers post on it on their page, but until I see on my TV screen number 77 passing the ball to LeBron or making his first three or doing something outrageous, it still is not like setting in yet. Like, it doesn't feel complete. The puzzle pieces are still not aligning here.
Okay, well, you'll be happy to know that he's targeting a return to the court before the All-Star break. So maybe this week, maybe some point next week, who knows? But you might be seeing number 77 in purple and gold on the court, much to everyone else's chagrin. But speaking of, like, much to everyone's chagrin, everyone's been talking about the trade marketplace, right? We talked about Rudy Gobert and Mikal Bridges and all that stuff. But does this trade effectively reset the marketplace? Because when you look at what Jimmy Butler was initially going for, right? You know, players that can provide value right now, players, that can provide value in a couple years, picks for, the next couple years or whatever have you. But now you get a once in a lifetime generational talent moving from one team to the other for one draft pick, one, well, Hall of Famer, and a, a pretty good prospect, right? So does that kind of like reset the trade marketplace? Because in the last couple of years, I mean, just going even back to when the Clippers traded for Paul George with, SGA, Danilo Gallinari, and like that boatload of picks, that kind of, in my opinion, kind of set the stage for all these more outlandish deals, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. To a certain degree. What is it? What is the? I don't want to say the collective bargaining, but whatever's in place with the politics with trading and matching salaries and not being able to hit these aprons. I think that's what's really going to be halting some of these trades going on. But do we see another superstar for superstar trade? That I'm not too sure. So I'm kind of on the fence. I know I'm not choosing one side on if it resets it or not, but I don't see any big names getting switched for each other. Like the level, this is the closest level we'll get. And I'm not saying AD is on Luka's level or vice versa, but like there's been rumblings about Jimmy Butler going to the Suns for Bradley Beal. There's a discrepancy there, right? So I don't know. It's been very tough season. It's been a very weird season when it comes to these moves. But I think it might be leaning towards resetting it. And teams are just getting fed up. I think that's the thing. Teams are getting fed up with players. There's a lot of stuff that we don't see and we don't hear about, obviously, with Luka. But then there's things that are right in our face, obviously, with Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley. So if teams are getting fed up, maybe they might just be willing to pull the trigger. And I'm hoping that teams like the Utah Jazz are fed up with centers like Walker Kessler and just wants to send them to the Lakers for a bag of chips. That'd be great.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'm hoping to see Jimmy Butler end up on the Warriors for a larger bag of chips because, Jimmy can single-handedly win a playoff series. He almost did it against the Lakers 5 years ago. So, you know,
Too bad almost doesn't
almost.
count.
Yeah, man, damn. Well, I mean, you know, doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. But
W's are W's. Exactly.
absolutely, absolutely. So just to throw the conspiracy cap on, right? I read some, or well, no, I saw somewhere that former Chicago Bull BJ Armstrong, he said that this trade was like an owner to owner trade for whatever that means, right? Because it was done in the dead of night, nobody knew about it, and it was just pull the trigger. Do you think that could be like an owner to owner trade? Be like, hey, that like this like a backroom deal or something like that. Be like, okay, something's happening. I'll give you Luka, you give me AD, everything's cool. Conspiracy theory.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, the Lakers fleeced and got Pau Gasol for Kwame Brown.
On the same day,
uh,
on the same day.
so I mean, it's possible. Let's not sit here and act like teams ain't doing weird stuff. What is it? The tampering and things of that nature, being able to have they know a player's coming to the team before the time window is open for you to even discuss with players. Of course, there's stuff going on in the back end. There's rumors all around. I feel like there's truth to some of the rumors. Look at Shams. He knows stuff. He's got the insight. So it's definitely possible that there's some stuff going on in the background. For sure, for sure. They're all doing it. They're golfing buddies. They're going out and having lunch and coffee. We see the owners, the GMs talking to each other in summer league. They're building up the relationships. We got to remember the NBA is a business. These are all
Yeah.
small businesses working together for the end goal of the NBA title, right? Almost set the cup. Like teams are really excited about that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I think it's definitely a lot of that going on. A lot of what is it like golf club, private club stuff. Yeah, trying to
I don't
find an
golf, so
analogy.
I would know, but it's interesting you bring that up because I read somewhere that Nico Harrison, the GM for the Mavericks, I guess he hit up Rob Pelinka a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, Rob, um, what do you think about a trade for Luka?" And Rob's like, "Nah, yeah, whatever. I don't think it's possible." And Nico was like, "Okay, bet." And like, obviously, that's paraphrasing, but like, it's so like you said, the golf club kind of like partnership dealings and all that stuff. Like everything happens in the golf club, and it's like whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
just to I guess put a button on the Mavericks kind of like situation. Is this the worst trade of all time? I wrote that it is because they okay, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out.
No, I'm here.
Okay. So this is what I wrote in a piece earlier today. For the Mavericks, their championship window just became significantly smaller. With the combo of 32-year-old Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic at 25, Dallas's window for contention could have lasted at least 7 seasons, right? Because whatever. As the latter would have been 32, and the Mavericks could have continued to build pieces around him as they did in the past, which led to some sort of success in the playoffs. It just kind of depends, right? Now, the Mavericks window is extremely tight as Irving has a player option for next season, while Davis is under contract for the next 2 seasons and then a player option in 27-28. In essence, Dallas will have to win a championship within the next 2.5 seasons to make trading Doncic worth it. For the Lakers, they basically got the face of their franchise. They got a star that can continually bring other stars to LA. And who doesn't want to play with the biggest star in the biggest market in the country and in the NBA, right? And so that's why I figured like, okay, well, that's pretty horrible. Like you gave away your future, your present and your future to your friggin' rival. Like who who does that? Like I'm genuinely baffled. It's not like the Mike Muscala like Ivica Zubac trade, which like Jerry West laughed at the Lakers, but like in some ways it kind of is because this is so unbelievable. Like why?
Yeah, this is a head scratcher, and as you were explaining it, it just made me think of like, and I would never do this, but when you're playing like fantasy football or basketball, and like someone that's managing a team, and they just know the season is over, so they are wanting to trade their superstar players. So you decide to cook up some trade that's not absurdly crazy just to make it not look bad. But I don't know if this is like I don't know if this is the worst trade in NBA history. Like it's not like I said, I know for the let's I think we're looking at it as the end goal, and I don't think that does justice to the actual trade itself. Like if we could just look at it as right here, right now, the rest of the season, how bad is the trade? Is it the worst trade in history if we just look at it for the rest of the season? No, it's not. You got an asset, you got a young role player, and you got a superstar in return for one player and 2 bags of chips. No offense to Markieff Morris and Maxi Kleber. But like the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook. And listen, Russell Westbrook is a dope player, but that was a bad trade. Let's rewind to the time where I said Pau Gasol. I mentioned it 3 times. We traded Kwame Brown, probably Javaris Crittenton, and another pick, maybe a second rounder. And I believe that second rounder turned out to be Marc Gasol. But we traded that for Pau Gasol, arguably top 5 power forward during his career, during his time, for Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown. That's a horrible trade. That's one of the worst trades. And that was halfway through the season too. We traded that and got to the finals. Like that's a horrible trade for the Grizzlies. No offense. But actually all offense. I don't think this is the worst trade in history. The Hornets. We traded Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant. Like trades gonna be trades. And you know what? I'm standing on business. All of these times, the Lakers make these moves, get fleeced because we're the Lakers, and now we finally get on top. Every 5-10 years, we get on top with these trades, and all of a sudden, it's the worst trade in history. Nah, it's not the worst trade in history.
Okay. I'm just saying that it's It just so happens to be very convenient that the Lakers always get a generational talent when they need to. I'm just saying, okay, cool, but I'm just saying it's kind of like one of those things for the listeners. He's wearing a Lake Show shirt, and so
It's Anthony Davis too, so that's kind of ironic. But
yeah. Hey, hold on to those. That's going to be a collector's item soon, I think.
yeah, I wish I would have bought an Anthony Davis jersey.
Yeah, but okay, when you put it in context, right? Like right now, for the rest of the season, it's probably a good trade. The Lakers are probably going to get worse, and the Mavericks are probably going to stay the same, right? Because the Lakers, I think, were what 9 games over 500 when the trade happened, and
We're 28 and 19, or the fifth seed.
yeah, and then the Mavs after today's loss, they're 26 and 24. So chances are, I think the Mavs might just kind of like bottom out a little bit, win 42 games, 45 at most, with Kyrie and AD. But like after that, it's like it's a crapshoot. What if Kyrie doesn't resign? What if he declines his player option and goes elsewhere? That's
It's a
a
possibility.
yeah, that's an issue for Nico because he's the one that pulled the trigger. So, anyways, we're just a couple more things here before we wrap things up because we're running a little bit long. Okay, so in your opinion, then, who gets moved first, De'Aaron Fox or Jimmy Butler?
Yikes. Ja- I want to say Jimmy Butler. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Jimmy Butler.
Okay, so I'm gonna be contrarian and I'll say De'Aaron Fox because apparently San Antonio's like, hey man, like Stephon Castle, he's untouchable. As we found out last night, no one is untouchable apparently. So
Mm-hmm.
if
Except for Austin Reeves.
I guess yeah, and well, not even LeBron now too, because like all the rumors about him and the Warriors. So it's like if I believe that the Spurs will get something done with the Kings. They're probably going to give up Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, and Stephon Castle, and a bunch of picks for De'Aaron Fox. Because I mean, De'Aaron Fox is leaving either way, so that's what I believe.
How many years are left on his contract?
De'Aaron,
Yes.
I think like a year and a half. So he has this year and then all of next year, and then I think he's a free agent, 2026.
Ooh, man, that's tough. If I'm the Spurs, I don't know. I might have to just wait it out. I
I mean,
don't know.
who knows, man? Who knows? We don't know what the Kings are doing. Nobody does. I don't even think they do. They were just happy to make one playoff appearance, and then they're like, "All right, cool, bye." So yeah, I can't wait to see Jimmy wearing a solid, number 22 Warriors jersey at some point. That'll be nice.
Yeah, I mean,
The
a lot of faith in that 35-year-old man.
Hey, the locker room's gonna be toxic as hell, but you know what? If that wins a championship, that's totally fine with me.
I just hope he can survive. I don't know who's gonna win out of him and Draymond.
You know what? Probably I feel like Draymond would lose to Jimmy because Jimmy's a dog, bro. Like he is, he will bite your face off and then probably like do a gritty or something or make coffee out of it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Flavor of the week.
Yeah, Draymond will just punch you and then make a podcast. So
Or stump you in places you don't want to be stumped in.
yeah,
Shout out to
karate kick
Sabonis.
and Steven Adams. But
Mm.
anyways, now that we're talking about that, another this is just kind of like I know we put quick hitters, but like this isn't necessarily quick, but Kelsey Plum is now a Los Angeles Spark. Thoughts on that?
Thoughts on that? You're speaking with a season ticket holder here. I love it.
Ooh,
I love it. I'm flexing. Shout out to the Sparks. I love it. This is everything that we wanted, and we wanted it in that first pick with Paige, and unfortunately, we didn't get the pick. So, what's the next best thing? Get exactly what we wanted in a player, which is a ball dominant player that can get their own shot, facilitate for others. She was I want to say third best player on her team with the Aces and still averaged 17-4. So I can only imagine, what she's going to be able to do with the ball in her hands with the Sparks. I'm predicting a 20-6 season. Olympian, champion, first overall pick. Got an amazing smile and a whole lot of talent.
Yeah,
Welcome to the
absolutely.
squad.
All welcome to the squad. There's you mentioned 20-6 this year. Like the new Sparks coach, Lynn Roberts. She led. I forgot who she coached, which I should know, but the teams that she coached led the entire country in 3 point efficiency and I think 3 point frequency. So you're going to see a lot more of, the running gun space kind of like situation, which I feel like, you know, she could thrive in that kind of situation, I feel like.
Absolutely, that's her play style. And then we got some folks on the wing, Kia Jackson. We got
Mm.
Lexi Brown. We got that sniper. You feel what I'm saying? So we gonna be out there running and gunning. This team looks so much better compared to last season, and I'm just excited. I can't wait for the first game.
Yeah, neither can I. It'll be a treat and a half for sure. And it wouldn't be right if I didn't ask you about this. Sophie Cunningham, she's been traded to the Indiana Fever. It was a massive four-team deal.
Mhm.
So the trade is as follows. The Phoenix Mercury received Satu Sabali, Alyssa Thomas, Kalani Brown, and Zevi Uzun. The Connecticut Sun land Rebecca Allen, Natasha Cloud, JC Sheldon, the number 8 pick in the 2025 draft. The Dallas Wings gets Dejanay Carrington, Taisha Harris, Nelissa Smith, and the rights to Micaiah Herbert Harrigan, the number 12 pick, and 2 pick swaps. And then the Indiana Fever get Sophie Cunningham, Jalen Brown, and the number 19 pick. So that's a lot. Just thoughts
That is
on.
a lot.
I think
The
it's one of
biggest
the
thing that's
biggest
just
trades.
Yeah, the biggest thing that stands out is definitely the Mercury. Like we're not noticing how much they just improved. So I'm excited to see how that goes. And then the Fever, just getting veterans to surround with Caitlin Clark. I feel like this is gonna be probably the most competitive seasons. But all of this shaking up, man, like we need to cover more of this WNBA news because this is crazy what's going on.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the Luka stuff last night, like everyone would be talking about the WNBA transactions and everything that's going on. But thus is life. But anyways, with all that being said, just a small reminder to subscribe to the Shooting Bricks podcast and leave a review of your choice on the platform of your choice. It really helps us out. And lastly, make sure to follow us on @podcastbricks on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. Shooting Bricks Podcast on Instagram and @Shooting Bricks Podcast on YouTube for all the news and the video of this episode of the Shooting Bricks Podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap things up, put a bow on it, and see what the Mavericks do from here?
Hey, I love basketball. We love it. NBA, WNBA, all of it. Uh keep rocking with us so we could, have another episode up. Maybe we might have one after the trade deadline. All the crazy stuff happens. So looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But as always, I'm Jared Castillo,
And I'm Jarrell Sells.
and we will see you guys next time.